Welcome back. Now today we are stronger together and also greater than stroke. Well, that's the theme of World Stroke Day. The World Health Organization says over 15 million people suffer a stroke every year worldwide. And it warns that 12 million will have their first stroke this year and 6.5 million will die as a result. So let's speak now to the CEO of Heart and Stroke Foundation. That's Prof. Pamela Naidoo joining me this morning. Prof, thank you so much for your time. A very warm good morning to you. And please allow me, and pardon me for asking, this is the first question. Were you at all worried about the health condition of South Africans last night? Especially when we're edging closer to 80 minutes of the Rugby World Cup. And it seems like South Africans were worried about, their heart, about their health. But eventually we did win. Morning.
We did win. Oh, we're so proud of our Baka and our country. What a lovely start to today's discussion about stroke and health. And maybe to take a page out of last night's book is to say remain as healthy as the Baka, because clearly they're training and they're body fit and they have very good mental agility too. So that is the perfect state to be in. But yes, we do worry about last night's, the audience and the fans and the South Africans at large, because much as we're a wonderfully proud country, but unfortunately our health profile is not that something that we should be that proud about. Because if you look at the risk factors for stroke, for example, half the adult population in South Africa are hypertensive. We have high blood pressure, and it's one of the biggest risk factors for stroke. So I do worry, yes, I do worry.
Yeah. Also, the numbers are quite telling, Prof. If we look at what the World Health Organization is saying, at least 50 million people will suffer a stroke every year or do suffer a stroke every year worldwide. Further warning that around 12 million will have their first stroke this year and 6.5 million will die as a result. It speaks about that unhealthy profile that we have globally, but also equally worrying here in South Africa. What informs that, Doc? What is it about our lifestyle? Or is it perhaps, from, the genes that we get from our families, our parents? What is it about us and our lifestyle that informs these numbers?
Yes. So, to bring it closer to home then, about 110 people have a stroke every minute in South Africa. So, this is quite a startling statistic. And I think essentially if the viewers can understand that largely our risk, you think about it as one risk score that's based on two major factors. And one is what do you inherit genetically from your family history? So your genes, you cannot change that, your DNA code. The other sort of cluster of risk factors is a number of them, but a lot of these factors are controlled behaviorally. So if you adopt the healthy behaviors, and maybe just let's take the top 4 to 5. One is if you check your blood pressure regularly, particularly if you're over the age of 45, more so if you're a woman that's premenopausal, menopausal, or postmenopausal. Secondly, if you do not exercise or have, you're not physically active, it's a problem. And if you're obese, it's even more of a problem. Then the third one is if you eat an unhealthy diet. And literally, if you could just think about 3 ingredients in your diet: salt, sugar, and fats. If you can control that, you're going to be good to go. But if you cannot control that, you're going to be in trouble. Then tobacco smoking, unfortunately, it causes cancer, but it also drives strokes and heart disease. Because, it leads to, I don't think we have the time, but let's just understand that tobacco smoking, I'm not going to say reduce your smoking. I'm going to say zero smoking.
Right.
And then, of course, limited alcohol consumption. And then very quickly, what complicates it in this day and age, all of those risk factors, but if you have climate change and environmental pollution, it's going to complicate the scenario even further. So think about that as a cumulative risk and control what you can. Because a lot of this relies on self-management as well.
That's right. What treatment is available, Prof?
Yes, so I think that maybe around the intervention, if you could just remember that FAST is the acronym for stroke. So the person having a stroke may not recognize they're having a stroke. More often they do not recognize. So it's about us around the person who needs to know that if it's, stroke affects one side of the body. Your face is affected, so you'll have drooping on the one side. You will have your arm, either the left or the right, which you cannot hold up voluntarily, so it will flop down, involuntarily. And then your speech is affected. Now, the treatment comes in the T part of FAST. The thing about a stroke is if you suspect someone's having a stroke, get to a medical emergency on time, because stroke is a medical emergency. It is a brain attack. If you get treatment literally, immediately after you have the incident, the chances of recovery are greater, and the chances of reducing disability from stroke is greater. So you've got to get to preferably a stroke center of excellence. If you can't, then a general medical emergency unit would do the job for you, because the doctors will be on standby. They'll give you treatment immediately.
Right. Prof, I wanted just to find out, can, a stroke turn fatal? Because you're talking about, managing what we consume, managing our lifestyle, talking about treatment. But are we having this conversation also because the stats are showing us that it can be fatal if not managed well?
Absolutely. So you wonderfully raised the issue about the global statistic, where you had like 15 million people have a stroke every year, but almost half, which is 6.5 million, actually die from the stroke. So, I mean, that in itself, will give you the scale at which people die from a stroke.
And also, when we talk about stroke, is there an age, gender, or even racial demographic that speaks to where it's most prevalent, or this is despite your age, your gender, where you reside, your race category, anyone can have a stroke,
yes,
if not, of course, managed well, as we've just attributed to, amongst other things, lifestyle, what we consume, what we inhale?
Yes, that's a great question. So definitely age. So as one gets older, the more prone you are going to be to a stroke. So definitely age is a factor. Women and men women are disproportionately affected because of the menopausal and the hormonal profile as one gets older. But men too, they also have hormonal changes, although they're somewhat slightly less at risk compared to women. Let's talk about race. I think it's not about the racial issue in South Africa. It's rather to look at it that low and middle income countries unfortunately are seeing a greater prevalence of stroke as opposed to the richer countries. And that's due to, it's complex. One of the major things perhaps in sub-Saharan Africa is that we have a high prevalence of comorbidities. So those of us who have non-communicable diseases like heart disease and strokes and hypertension and so on, also possibly are HIV positive, and we're living longer because we're on ARVs, so antiretrovirals, and so that's making you more prone to a stroke. Then there's a high proportion of people with diabetes. So all of these comorbidities also drive stroke. Of course, not forgetting the fact that there's structural inequalities that also lead people to eat badly, eat cheap food, not be able to exercise, and this complicates the reasons why people will get a stroke.
Well, I appreciate you speaking to me about this, Prof, this morning. Quite important information to have at our disposal. And may it not only be on specific days or on weeks where we raise awareness, may be of interest every single day when we, of course, think about our health. And thank you so much to you, Professor Pamela Naidoo, the CEO of the Heart and Stroke Foundation, speaking to us more about stroke, its symptoms and lifestyle. Also those numbers that inform why this is a serious health issue that